Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fox Cities Core here on WCZR Code Zero Radio. Core is a weekly show that airs live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. We've been doing the show now for over 2 years, and what we would typically do is have a band down here, and we would do a live interview. Today, however, is a holiday, so I thought it would be a fun idea to throw together some clips from some of the past shows that we've done. There were some shows that, unfortunately, I did not have access to the video, so I couldn't put them into this show. But you can find some of those shows, like the Ike Rumba show and the Beach Patrol show, among others, on the Code Zero Radio Facebook page. Just click on videos. But I would recommend, if you like any of the substance in this show today, go check out our YouTube page. We've got a good portion of the shows on that YouTube page. You can watch them in full. We also have all the audio out at live.codezeroradio.com. I want to thank all the bands that joined us over the last couple of years. We filmed the show in my basement, and you can kind of see here, I also used this space to rehearse with a couple bands. So I'd like to thank my family, specifically my wife and son, for letting me do this here, as sometimes it can get quite loud. If you know any bands that would be excited to sit down for a hour-long interview, I have them reach out to me. I'd love to have them on the show. Well, without any further ado, please enjoy this potpourri of artists that we've had on Fox Cities Core. And let me take a quick moment before to thank you for watching and supporting Fox Cities Core and WCZR Code Zero Radio. Happy holidays, everybody.
So when did you put together your first band?
When I was, I think, 18, I formed a two-piece punk ska group called Shedding Winter Coat, and the drummer Mike Schutte, he was is a extremely talented guy. He pretty much carried the band, but he played drums while playing trumpet. I don't know, it was crazy.
It sounds like a combo you don't normally see.
Yeah, we got to play with Time Again. That was like our claim to fame in Chicago, and I jumped into the drum kit, and the drum kit wasn't mine, and I wound up broken stuff.
When did Hunger Strike Riot start? Was that right after that band?
Yeah. I don't know the year, but
you guys did one album, right? Or was there more?
Oh, I think two.
Two albums of Hunger Strike.
And then I kept reusing them in other bands. It's just a lot easier to reduce, reuse, recycle.
The Orange Iguanas, they were an Appleton, Fox Cities based band.
Yep.
And you guys put out, I think, quite a few releases, didn't you?
2 full lengths. We did a postcard record.
You did the EP with the split.
Yes.
Sleeping in the Aviary.
Yep.
Lots of great Orange Iguana video on YouTube as well. If you do a search for Orange Iguanas, there's video of you guys playing different states and different venues. And there's a great video from a Chicago show at Chicago.
Oh, yeah, that was great. I played on that show 3 times total, with 2 with Orange Iguanas and 1 with Hunger Strike Riot. And it's so weird. It's like a kids show on Chicago public broadcast, and it's just it's got a rat puppet Ratso, and it's just kids dancing to punk rock. It's very strange, but super great to play.
You did, was it a Halloween? Or no, they encouraged you to dress up, right?
Yep. We just kind of wound up always showing up on their Halloween shows.
I'll share that video later on Code Zero Radio where Tyler dresses up like Pee-wee. And it's good. You guys are lip syncing.
Oh, yeah. And they play it so quiet, too. So you're trying to...
Makes it more awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's probably purposeful.
Saddle Up. Can you tell us about it?
It was one of the 2 children's songs that we put out on that split tape. It's also on the full length. It was re-recorded. And
You've got a video for this song, don't you?
yes,
You can find it on YouTube.
you can. You can. It involves trains and cowboys and there's so we dressed up as like cowboys. We went to the mini golf place in town. I can't recall the name of it because it had like an old western kind of feel, and we filmed a lot there. And they have this like stream kind of going through the place, and I pretended to wash my head on it, and I don't know what they had in that water, but it burned real nice.
That's probably something you don't want on your body.
No,
anywhere on
not.
your body.
Yeah. Lesson learned.
I think I'm the only one who's been to every version of Mark Goldie's Rock Garden Studios. And I think he's forgot about some of them because the Electric Bananas recorded in his living room, which I think is technically the first location. And then he moved to this Bonsai Studios Nina location. Then temporarily he was in Oshkosh, which I think he forgets. He was there for a few months, and I recorded there also. And then there was the Walter Avenue, and I think I'm even forgetting one. There was one like on Irish Road in Nina. So there's like 5 or 6 locations before he's where he is now. But I've recorded at each of those.
Did you help him when he was setting up the current location?
No, whenever it comes to like the hard work like that, I make sure I'm far away.
That's a good plan.
Sorry, Mark.
What do you think of what he's built over there?
It's the location is awesome because it's big and it sounds really good in there, and it's got a cool atmosphere. It's like if you're there late at night, I'm pretty sure it's haunted. But I don't think he would want anybody to know that. But I like that. I like that vibe. There's like some energy there, and the lighting is great. It's really cool venue for like when he does those Thursdays, the Rock Garden Live, or any of the CD release parties there. It's a cool place to go watch a band. But the sounds he gets out of the studio, with the console, but it's him behind it all. He's got all the cool gear, but he knows how to run it, and he's got a particular, sound that he's usually going for. And with this last project that I've been doing with him, we've experimented quite a bit, did a lot of crazy sounds, turned some really small songs into these big epic performances with timpani, bells, choir, all kinds of crazy stuff. So he's willing to experiment, and I know him pretty well, so we don't even have to talk about a lot of things. We just kind of head the same direction.
We're getting near the end of the show. I would regret if I didn't bring this up.
Yeah.
You won a whammy.
Thank you. Yes, we did. 2016.
Whammy winning band evoke.
And we got like 4-time nominees. So, and it feels pretty good to get recognized. I know a lot of it's, how do you say,
Talent,
but I think the whammies are kind of not what you know, who you know kind of thing. It's more one of those, but
Did you attend the ceremony that you
I wish we would have. We attended the first one that we were nominated in 2014. We attended that one. It was a good time. That was at the PAC. I know they switch back every other year between Appleton and Milwaukee. But, no, I wish I would have. I don't know the circumstances of why I didn't, but.
So cool, though.
Yeah, I think in a way it's, their local popularity contest, but it is gratifying to get that, what do you say?
Kind of recognition.
Recognition, appreciation for, your hard work. I mean, people don't realize, like you were saying before, the amount of energy and time and money that goes into doing what we do. And
we've talked about like band, having a band that's not all on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, also taking into account the toll it takes on your family, the time, it's.
Yeah, I will say this. I have lost so much time with my family because of the band. Like, I've always, for the longest time, always put the band first. So it's like, oh, we can't do this on Sunday, or we can't do this on Wednesday, or I can't be here to do this because I got the band, or I got a show. Like, even with my daughter, it's half and half, but there's times where it's like, oh, we can't do this. I got to take you to Grandpa Grandma's for them to watch you because I got a show tonight, So the older they get, the easier it's been, but we've kind of slowed down too. We've been doing this for 17, almost 18 years now, and everybody's gotten older, more stuff going on in their lives, starting families, buying houses, educations, jobs. It gets hectic to try and stay at that same level.
Where does your Whammy Award sit?
It sits on the mantle of our fireplace in the studio.
Nice.
Yes.
This is the controversial part of the show with the hard-hitting questions. When you guys are on tour, is there something that one of you does that annoys the crap out of the other one? Don't hold back either.
I think it changes. I mean, I only really get super annoyed if I haven't slept enough. So it could be anything at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty mellow. We've traveled a lot together, like besides being on tour, and it's pretty easygoing most of the time. Probably the thing that like creeps up just because it's like can be pretty constant is just talking too quiet. And I'm just like, what? Like, if you don't talk louder, we just can't communicate.
That
so.
Annoys both of us, yeah.
You don't talk quietly, do you? Well, that wasn't as controversial. But doesn't that make you mad? Don't you want to fire back at Levi with something that annoys you?
What?
Wait.
Is there a band that you've played with that was just horrible?
Yes.
Which one?
The one.
So you've toured a lot, as I mentioned. I don't want to say that a billion times, but you've been in a lot of different scenes. You've seen a lot of different scenes. How do these areas? It sounds like you're really familiar with the Minneapolis scene. How do these scenes compare to the scene here in the Fox Cities?
It's pretty similar. Things have definitely been blooming, the last few years in the Fox Cities. It used to be a little tougher to do original music around here. But I don't know, it's starting to get to where it's comparable. Minneapolis has a super supportive scene. Madison does too. Where pretty much any time we've played there's been a bunch of people showing up, even though we're relatively unknown, and just being really supportive, and that's starting to happen here too, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
You think that has a lot to do with Mile Music and the different festivals that are starting, like Racket Fest, and I know Electric City didn't go last year, but
yeah, it's definitely part of it. I think a lot of people are just starting to realize too that that's just what we need to do as musicians, is really support each other and just show up and be enthusiastic.
Yeah, I find when I listen to the Red Shift Headlights, I like the fact that I feel like I'm listening to a story. Like some music I listen to and it feels like whoever the songwriter was just, lyric puked out a bunch of stuff that fit the cadence. But when you're writing a song, do you have a story in your head already that you want to tell? Obviously, Oshkosh, a lot of it is about Oshkosh.
It's different at different times. For this record, I didn't. This record is really just a series of images, and so that's kind of what the way and lines and bits and pieces of things that have happened in Oshkosh. I didn't really have a vision for the songs. I didn't want them to be too cohesive. I wanted them to be a little sort of decentered and unstable. But there is still a kind of something going on, I think, in terms of a narrative. But this one was different. I had fun writing this because I took bits and pieces of different drafts. I rewrite songs many times, so I'll have probably each song probably has 6-7 drafts.
A lot.
Lyric drafts, and I kept a couple lines from each of those drafts, right? And then and so some of the kind of non sequitur stuff I liked, so I kind of went with it, that resulted because of those drafts.
Recording a lot of it yourself, you find that you go back and want to change stuff more than you normally would?
No, you just held off recording your vocals till like the absolute last part or whatever. We did a lot of like dummy vocals or a lot of like dummy like mixes or whatever. So those would just kind of stay in there for a long time because the song, at least in my experience, it would just keep changing and stuff like that, or it'd keep updating.
And it had partly to do with what people were adding as parts. So
sure.
That, there would be like an emotional climb in the music. I'm like, okay, this has to go somewhere else or something, right? So it
goes back to having so many instruments and so many whatever is like you're mixing and all of a sudden you're finding this part and then all of a sudden you bring that part up and you bring something else down and the whole song kind of changes. And then maybe if you had a line or something there, it's like, well, if I'm singing over this, I lose it. So then take this line out, but then that line doesn't work. So yeah, it makes sense holding all the vocals and stuff kind of till the end, but it also presents different challenges as well, obviously.
So the record label.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with starting your own label and doing custom vinyl? Just seems like a lot of work to even figure out how to do this stuff. You do is amazing.
It is. Like,
it's Chris's full-time job now, so
yeah.
Do you have a lot of people coming up to you like, I want to learn how to do that?
Not as many. Most people are just like so blown away. Like they just think it's so
they can't
cool.
even fathom doing it.
Yeah, and because they rightly so assume it's just such work and everything else, and like I think they just respect them doing it, that they would never be like, hey, tell me how to do that. You've
had one or two occasionally, but
not very many. It's like, hey, this is like part of your life's work. Tell me how you did it so I can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we so when this band, was in its closer infancy and stuff, like one of my big goals was always just to have vinyl for my band, and I was like, man, it'd be so cool if my band had vinyl. And we did our first 7-inch, and it was so cool, and it was such a validating thing, like just for any band, like all these little steps all matter, and we've always tried to keep good perspective about that. And so we did the 7-inch, and I'm a record collector, and I always was like, man, it'd be so cool if we just had some really sick custom stuff. And so I started experimenting with different, just on how to make like some liquid filled records. And there's no you can't like hop online and be like, how do I make because like right now there's I think maybe 4 of us on the planet that make them. 4, maybe 5. And then I was struggling to do it, and then it just dawned on me, I'm like, this is stupid. There's this whole other art space that no one is exploring. And I thought there's so much more that could be done. And so I started making all kinds of stuff. So we had been on a couple independent labels, and our second album was out on Phonoflow Records. Our first album, we didn't have pressed to vinyl because at the time we weren't big enough for anyone to care. But our second album and our 7-inch sold out so well that we brought back our first album to get it pressed after the fact. And that's when I was determined to make something. And this was all still on Phonoflow Records. And I made these glow-in-the-dark Dinobone filled records. And I needed people to know who was making them. I needed them to know it wasn't the label we were on. It was me. And so I'd always had this idea for the label, but I never knew what it would be. It sounded cool in my brain. And so I made Romanus Records so people would know that I was making them. So if it was like, this album's out on Phonoflow Records, and these customs are made by Romanus Records, whatever. Well, the first time, and it was our first time we were coming up here. It was our first time. It was like for the mile, I think. We were coming to Wisconsin,
Yeah.
We had never been to Wisconsin. And so we had these Dino Bone records. They were $60 a pop, and we had 60 of them. And I was just like, man.
Oh, yeah.
No one's going to buy this crap. This is way too much money. Like, I'm so cheap. So
It was one of the rare occurrences where I was driving, actually.
Yeah.
I do remember this now.
Because I like ran the sale for my phone.
Yeah.
And then it sold out in like 2 minutes. And I thought something was wrong with my phone. And I was like, well, that's almost $4,000, like right away. And especially at that point of our band, that was like Solomon money. Like it was just so much gold. And, we just couldn't believe it. And so from there, I kept doing a few things, but they were always still tied to my band a little bit. And then our band. And then it just made sense to start bringing other bands onto the label. Because there was just such a desire for what we were doing. So the first non-brother or brother thing was with the Ghost Wolves, which we actually met at Mile, and they're dear friends of ours. I talk to them all the time, and it just kept going from there. And I've just kind of been the slow, steady march of progress. And there's certain things that I do that no one on the planet. I make the only LED records in the world. They're like remote controlled, and they play just like a regular record and sand fields, and I've done gunpowder and razor blade filled records and like all kinds of weird glow in the dark stuff. And so it's just kept building and building and building. And we really love a lot of like working class bands just that are hustling. Those are the people we love the most, like Volk and people that are they're working hard. That's the stuff we want to be in. And I about 4 months ago was starting to apply for real jobs. So I've been running the label pretty heavily for 2 or 3 years now, and I had some weird scrubby jobs to get me by with that, and I was going to go back to like real work. And I was like, well, before I do that, I'll open up this manufacturing side. I always had this idea that like this is like from the very beginning, for whatever reason, I thought I could be like the ace of cakes of like custom vinyl. And like if for these huge brands and bands, like, oh, we want, new X-Men movies coming out. We want this like Wolverine record, and we want like, I don't know, like, fangs out on the side of it, or just something insane. And so I opened up the manufacturing side of my business called Romanus Custom Vinyl Manufacturing, where people could come order all of this crazy custom stuff that I kept proprietary to our label and bands on our label for so long. And I still haven't even really advertised it yet. We're talking, this is like maybe 12 weeks ago. And since then, I'm getting phone calls regularly from Sony, The Orchard, Metal Blade Records, Relapse Records, Fat Possum Records. I just did liquid fields for Black Dahlia Murder. Like, they shared a video of the record I did. It got over 100,000 views in 24 hours. Like, just these insanely huge bands and insanely huge projects like Universal, just all this stuff. And I'm very much in the middle of that right now. Like, and that allowed me to go into that full time. And and that's like as of like 8 or 9 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've tried to think about each project on its own, like what's it going to be, kind of figure out and feel out who's the best stylistically, and just working with Mark at Rock Garden. I mean, he's amazing, obviously. Gives you a good rock sound, kind of that, some of that classic feel to what he's doing is amazing. And with Motivation, working with Tony, he kind of is on that pop punk kind of side of things. So that was kind of where that album was heading for the most part. So yeah, that was good working with him. And then, like I said, Tim with the Christmas stuff, just kind of figuring out who's good at what, and good fits. And then as far as different feels, I think there's definitely, Rock Garden has a lot of space, and it's just the setup is really great. But yeah, being able to kind of, I think you said something about, is it hard or difficult when you're in there to
take an idea and put it down?
Yeah. So again, having the idea, or allowing the person that you're working with to kind of speak into it or help it along. Yeah. So just I feel like I've for each project I've found a good match. And right now, I've got some stuff ready. I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going to be next. So I'm trying to figure out where to record next.
Let's give everyone a taste of the Dirty Rotten So-and-Sos.
Oh, no.
This song is called Sweet Talker. Can you tell us the story behind this one?
We recorded this song and 4 other ones, I think, at a studio in Oshkosh called Topsoil that I loved, and it closed shortly after. Again, I hope that wasn't our fault. We did it live. It was the first time I had ever done something live, and the only way I've done it since. Like, the New Old Things do everything totally live lately to tape, and we do vocals live and all that kind of stuff. Our drummer was really sick, and he at one point walked to a gas station and bought a bottle of like Robitussin or something and just drank the whole thing, and then fell asleep, we'll call it, on the couch because he was not feeling good. But we got it done, as is our way.
Aaron, you have an event at your house every year called, it's a big long name.
I gotta take a deep breath here. East Central Wisconsin Punk Fest weekend for bands not from Madison enough to play the actual Wisconsin Punk Fest.
What made you decide to start this?
Just kind of a joke towards the Wisconsin Punk Fest they have in Madison every January.
When we got stopped being asked to play, he started this.
Well, I only played it that one time.
It's also like no bands outside of Madison playing the Wisconsin Punk Fest in Madison.
Yeah, the first one IDFK did, there were like, I think 8 bands total, and we were the only ones not from Madison on it. And then every other show, they get maybe 1 or 2 bands that are not from Madison, but I'm just kind of poking a little fun at that.
Has it been a success so far every year at the house?
It's fun.
Yeah, they're fun. Depends on how inebriated Eric gets.
Yeah, and I'd love to see the DUIs play it sometime.
Yeah, that'd
be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this last year I thought went really, really well. Both nights had decent turnouts.
Shot roulette with Malort in the kitchen wasn't the best option.
But the timing of it was terrible.
6 o'clock was.
Yeah, wait till the show's done or something.
You did stop the toilet pipe from leaking. Yeah, so we found out that the outlet pipe in the bathroom was leaking to the basement. So here's inebriated Eric. I've got this, and the Jurassics aren't playing, so I don't need to wear my Fuck the Jurassic shirt. So here I rip my shirt off and tie it around the pipe, and then I'm running around with no shirt on, and then Aaron and a whole bunch of other people decide, hey, let's start slapping his chest.
Do you feel that some of that guitar music it was kind of lost for a while? Do you feel like that's going to come back, or do you think it'll kind of stay on the kind of the not mainstream level that it was at in the 90s?
I think everything's a cycle. I think it'll have its time again, not like it did, you know, but it'll have a brief time, I think.
We're sure trying. I definitely get a lot of feedback at the live shows about how guitar heavy the sets have become. It's maybe something more over the past like half year as we've been kind of trying. One of my friends was like, our song 130, he was like, I dig this, it feels like Rush. And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right, it sounds almost exactly like a Rush type like chord structure. So I don't know, maybe we're moving into prog rock.
I find a lot of my inspiration coming from my wife and our relationship and just doing life together.
Right after you're married, you did a couple shows and traveled around.
Yeah, a little bit. We took a honeymoon up in Door County, and then like the day after we got back, I opened for Mason Jennings, which was really cool, over at Gibson Music Hall in Appleton. So, and actually, my wife Emma played a song with me at Gibson, and
That was really good.
Thanks. I thought so too. Yeah, and yeah, I give her a lot of credit for putting in the effort and learning the parts, and we practiced on our honeymoon. It was fun, and but yeah, she deserves more credit. She has a great voice, and she wouldn't say it, but
So is she going to be factored into this upcoming album quite a bit? It seems you've got another sort of space theme, at least with the Milky Way single.
You're right. Yeah. Well, so what's interesting is that the new record is actually going to be called Soul Geology, which is different because geology is very terrestrial, usually, unless you're talking about like lunar lunar geology or like planetary geology. But no, we're talking about the Earth, so it's kind of a bringing it back to the ground kind of a thing. So the interesting thing about this next record is that it isn't necessarily quite as much of a concept album as the debut album was, but there's definitely a theme, and I don't think I really realized there was a theme until midway through the process of kind of constructing how the album would be arranged. But each song was kind of written out of a different place, and but what I realized is that, and actually my friend John helped me realize this, we were talking about it, he's like, every one of these songs has to do with a person in your life, whether it's your wife, whether it's your mom, whether it's your friends, whether it's family, or just or even your relationship with God. I mean, it's like each thing is it all has to do with relationship. And so he's like, it's kind of funny that you want to call it soul geology because when I think about that, I think of relationship being the makeup or the geological framework or structure of who we are as people, and our soul is literally constructed by who we relate to. And if we were just in this alone, it would be really boring and really lifeless. And it's the people in our lives that shape us and mold us. And so that's what the whole album is kind of about. And each song has to do with a different person, which is kind of cool. So Milky Way is one that I released, and that one's about Emma. The next song I'm releasing is called Kite, and that fingers crossed will be coming out on the 31st of this month. If I can get my
a week and a half.
Yeah, my ducks in a row. We'll see. But yeah, that song is sort of indirectly about Emma as well. But then the one after that is another song that I wrote about my mom. And so yeah, that's kind of how the new record is coming along. And then I guess to answer your question from before, will Emma be featured on this record? Yeah, there's actually one song for sure, and that's the one that we performed at Gibson together. It's called First, and that's a special song for us that we worked on together. So I'm gonna try to get her on there for sure.
Wanted to talk about some of the different music festivals in the area. We talked about Water City Racket Fest. There's also Oshkosh, the Oshkosh Music Fest, which is that what you call it? Oshkosh Music?
Oshkosh Main Street Music Fest?
Yep.
That's where I saw you guys last year.
Yep, we played that one. That one's in summer, usually the same weekend as EAA.
Jay's the only one here that's played Waterfest.
Yep. I don't see that happening again, though. I feel like that was a one-time thing. Actually, I played there twice. I opened for the Tubes once, too, which was way different.
We should have a lot more credibility than we do just having you in the band.
I don't think that's accurate.
Mile of Music, Spy vs. Spy. Have you tried to play Mile of Music yet?
No, we always keep missing the deadline for sending in the application, so I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
So is that ultimately on your shoulders, Dean? Are you the guy that has to sign up for all this stuff?
Eric and I pester each other about doing it,
Yeah.
and then neither one of us does it.
We're full of ideas.
That is totally true.
Ideas and artificial deadlines.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Hypothetical artificial deadlines.
When is the artificial deadline for the next album?
I don't know.
Should
I don't
we
know
make
if you
one?
have to do an album anymore.
Or
you know
an
what I mean?
EP
Like,
or
yeah,
singles
that's the
or
thing.
whatever.
Next release?
I don't know. Like I think Dean said, I think we might have a couple like songs done by the time we do that Racket Fest thing or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have some online.
But
So you might drip a couple songs out before then?
yeah, slowly just kind of toss. I don't know when they're done. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things. It's not like you don't really have to like sit and wait to.
We don't have a recording contract. So.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, so I'll be real. It's not like millions of people are buying these, or even hundreds of people are buying these. So it's like you put
Or even
out a couple
tens of
songs.
people.
That's what I mean. So it like ultimately like the idea of like we can't release this until we get 10 songs. I mean, that's stupid. It doesn't really. You don't really have to do that anymore. Whether or not to press something or do whatever, I think that's secondary at this point.
We've talked about being more intentional about sort of, like doing a song and a video to sort of build some momentum around maybe a more, just a more complex project minded approach to putting songs out. And that's what we did with Rewind, which was a lot of fun. I think even in the end, doing the video was,
It was
were,
cool.
Were you okay with it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It was cool.
Not Jay's favorite thing necessarily to do the video, the part that we did, but I mean, it turned out really cool, and it did get, I think it got a little more attention than had we just put the song out. And it's again just kind of taking the ideas that we have about doing a video or another sort of side to the song that we can put out and following through on it, which sometimes it's just fun to talk about stuff.
Yeah, it's cool to hang out with John and work with him on different
that's
stuff
great.
or whatever. So, I don't know. These are all we know. So many like cool and talented and interesting people, and they're always down with doing stuff. So,
You did Summerfest this past year, right?
Yep.
How was that experience?
Summerfest was super awesome. Great day. It was on and off rain, but the rain stopped while we were playing, and it was just a awesome time. Lots of people. Getting in and out was slightly a hassle because you got gates and you got tickets and passes and tons of people to deal with, and driving in the shuttle bus to get you from the parking lot to inside. But it was so much fun. Yeah.
Somebody said great show at the Reptile Palace on Thursday. That's from our friend Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks. The Reptile Palace is I think it's maybe only my second or third time playing there in the 6 years I've been back in the area, and it's great. I love it. I mean, it's got the dive bar feel, but it has a stage, and the sound's actually pretty good. It's really good. I mean, like, we're used to playing basement shows, and it's like, when you play in a basement, all you're going to hear is just the instruments. You're not going to hear really this. You're going to hear maybe the tone of the voice, but I don't know. They run a good ship over there, so.
It's really great too to have places like that.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like we're pretty lucky in Appleton too. But do you guys know of any venues that some of our listeners might not know about that they should check out? I know there's the train station is one of them.
Yes, yeah, you should really go check out some stuff over there. Our friends, Cave Paintings, got a space over there, and they do everything from, acoustic shows to metal, hip hop shows to yoga. They do family friendly stuff. It's usually BYOB, so it's pretty, laid back, and it's awesome. It's really cool.
Even if there's a cover to support like the touring bands or the bands, you still can, like you said, bring your own in. So even if it's $5 or $10, it's still a deal.
Yeah. And I think the house show or the DIY show people are like more giving, in that respect. I know that like the downtown Appleton scene doesn't really have like a cover or pay at the door kind of culture, and so But I think with the touring shows and stuff, people are more willing to support that, because people are coming from all over the place.
All right, you ready for the second part?
Yes.
I believe you recorded the Green Bay Packers CDs of cover songs with changed lyrics.
Yes.
Any thoughts of doing another one of these CDs?
The Wedgies. We did 2 of those. That was back in the days.
Forgot about the Wedgies.
That was in the days of Bonsai. And I was a young professional recording engineer, and I was trying to prove myself, which is what that was. And the way you prove yourself is go, I'm going to recreate Bohemian Rhapsody. And that was quite the feat. But I was hungry, and I was like, I was kind of like a sled dog. Just get me in there, and I'd be in the studio for 24 hours straight, and sometimes I was. So that, on my end, was a way for me to try to prove to everybody that I can do this. And it was put together by Len Nelson at WAPL as a WAPL project, and that turned into the CDs as it grew, because it's an obvious slam dunk. You take Green Bay Packers and classic rock, and you put it together, and we live in Wisconsin, and that's, it's right there. We did huge shows back then, too, when people from all over the country would show up at these things. It was crazy. I do have a funny story. We did one live show at, and I'll get back to the question, too. We did one live show at one of the sports bars in the big room, and big production, big everything. We thought, we're a comedy band, so let's get another comedy band to open for us, which is Party of Clowns. Nice. Yeah, and what I didn't realize is our audience really took this music seriously. They didn't see it as comedy. Packer fans, so Party of Clowns was going to make a really big impression, and they decided to walk on stage wearing nothing but sneakers, diapers, no shirt, clown makeup, clown nose, and clown wigs. If you can imagine grown men, diapers, and clown faces. And they went up and did their set, and the place is packed. We've got 500 to 1,000 people there. They'd get done with the song, and you could hear a pin drop on carpet. They hated them. They absolutely hated them. And I wish we had it on videotape. It was one of those classic nights. But no, there's no thought of doing that anymore. It's kind of like we've moved on and done that sort of thing.
Get back to jump back a little bit to Turtlehead again. So Turtlehead broke up, and then you did a 10-year later reunion show.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we did a tribute show for Opie at the beginning of last year, more or less, and then we were kind of reintroduced to each other, and then I think brought a lot of old friends together.
It did.
How was that like, seeing everybody, and how was that playing in a band that was like a part of your teenage years? All of a sudden it's like it keeps coming back every 10 years.
To play again in a band that you literally haven't thought of other than 3 or 4 times because you stumbled upon the Green album and put it in and go, that was funny, that was fun back then, so young. But then, to get together with the guys and Joel, here's Joel. What song is this? How does it? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Right? And then finally he catches the beat. Dun, 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 and we all click in. And everybody knows the song like we got done playing yesterday. That is a good feeling. That is such a good feeling. Out of all the memories I burned out of my brain like Swiss cheese, to know that the songs are still somewhere in there is a really good feeling. It was nice. It was nice doing that, even if it was only every 10 years.
How was it jumping on the news? You guys played on the news the day before the tribute show, live TV.
Yeah.
That had to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and live TV makes you gain 40 pounds. I just want everyone to know that. It was really, you know what? The circumstances were shit. I got to say that. It was so much fun to do all these things, and the reason we had to do it was just outright shit. And I will say to everyone who's out there, you have an opportunity to do something fun and enjoy it, and just go do it. Go do it without a reason. The reason is, you should just go do it and have fun, because one day you're going to get together. It's going to be so much fun, but it's not the reason you want to be there. And I know they call that life, but we got together a lot in this last year for reasons none of us wanted to get together. with the passing of two really good friends. And some people were their friends for a lot longer, and some of us just saw each other through the window for a small period of time. But you know what? Just go have fun. Go do something before you got to show up and do that. I got to say, I left off on a good note with those guys, and I love them to bits, and I think about them in the music all the time.
I met Rick Armstrong, he plays in just tons of bands. He's in his main band that he's in is More Than Merry. I think you know those guys, right? Yeah. And the Benchwarmers and all these other bands. And he's just a great guy, and we developed a friendship. Messaged me out of the blue one day when I hadn't known him, saying that how much he liked my songs and this and that. And so he played there's 3 band songs on there basically on that album, and then the rest are acoustic, and then I did those live. It was just some sort of magic mojo going on in that studio, I think, because it was the first time I was in there. It was all kind of new, and it turned out to be what I think is a really good album. A lot of people say that could be their favorite album that I put out, and that was when I think things started to take off again, and then I started doing more shows. I was pretty much done playing in Green Bay. I was pretty much exclusively playing in Appleton and the Valley, and getting to know people like Kent and John Jordan and Len Nelson and Mark and all these. There's this whole culture that exists 30 miles from where I live, and it's just, I was like, wow, and meeting all these musicians that like Christopher Gold and Sam Luna and RJ Nordland and all these people that have become good friends with, and it's just it was kind of like a switch being turned on, and I've been busy ever since.
Good morning, Independent Variable. My
Good
question
morning.
to you is, I know that you all have specific instruments that you've played on this album, but do any of you play anything else?
Ooh, good question.
Very good question.
Dan, go for it.
Sure, I would say, what Fred is to being a great rhythm guitarist, I think I would be maybe a hack at, I don't know, maybe being a bit of a rhythm elf. I dabble a little bit. Fred is absolutely the guitarist. Beyond that, just a titch of piano, and mostly I stick to what I'm mediocre at, which is the drums.
And for me, it's just guitar. I didn't start playing guitar until very later on in life. I was in bands forever, but I was just a singer, and then eventually just ran out of friends to play in a band with, and so I had to pick up a guitar. So that's really the only thing I ever learned.
Johanna, harmonica?
Well, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for the question.
Right. We've got a phone call, you guys, so let's switch to the phone.
Right
You're
on.
on the air with Iftikhar. What's your question?
Hi, I was just wondering, what lessons have you learned along the way that you could share with other people who might be wanting to do what you guys do?
Wow, that's a really, really great question. Patience is number one. As far as working with your bandmates, a little empathy. Everybody deals with trauma and grief and loss and all that stuff. And when you're with a group of people for any amount, considerable amount of time, people are going to go through difficult things. And I guess that includes the fan base too. Compassion, empathy. We've dealt with so many, not only in the band, but our friends and fans that have had awful things happen to them. You lose parents, and, you go down the list. And to be there for each other at the end of the day, none of the bells and whistles, none of that crap matters. What really matters is your family and your friends and the love you share with one another. Just to be there for one another. That's what it's all about. And that's kind of what we've always tried to promote. You know, we're not necessarily a hippie-ish type of band, but the love that you can, you know, just a simple message to somebody, if you know that they're not maybe doing so good, it can really change everything.
You know, it's weird to think back that long ago, but I think at that point in 1996, I think we already felt like we were sort of, the music we were playing wasn't really relevant. I think even at that point, we were already feeling like there was something else happening, and we were like not current, I guess.
Well, Tom was 15. He was already past his prime.
You were wearing a Reaper shirt that day, weren't you?
I don't remember.
I think you were.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
Does each band member have a favorite song on this album? Has anybody kind of spoken up about what they like on this?
No, you know, and we've all kind of like had songs we didn't like. We've expressed that, like, I'm not so sure about this song or this song, but in the end, when it's all done, are all happy with what we've got. Yeah, I mean, you know, you get those moments like, I'm not so sure about this anymore, but everything is come together.
Did everything you wrote for this album make it, or did you guys cut anything away?
We didn't cut anything away, no.
So nobody was exiled off the island.
No one was exiled.
Well, what happened is after we played our first show with the Queers, we wanted to put out a split, and because at that time they were a pretty successful Wisconsin punk band, I said, hey, I'll get you on the show if you do a split with us. And we made it happen. Split came out, and it was about a month later they broke up.
Any possibility of doing vinyl for the present age?
Oh man, we've been talking about it. We really want to. I was pushing for it for this next release, but there's someone among us who's responsible for most of our production and mixing who says, we should just wait until we have better equipment.
I wish he was here. I'd give him a piece of mind.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, well, the thing is, like, it's I can't make a decision now. It all depends on how the product turns out, but we're doing everything ourselves. You know, we just want to get music out there because it's been way too long since we've put out an actual release, and we've got all these songs we are playing that are totally different. No one really knows what we sound like anymore, and we kind of need to build ourselves up from the ground up, like totally new. So the idea is just getting these songs out kind of as quick as possible. I'm not expecting them to sound perfect necessarily because they're recorded at home. But then my worry would be, you know, putting it on vinyl. Like, why would you put a lackluster, low-fidelity home recording on vinyl and just hear all of it in its terrible glory? I'd feel so bad, but we really want to. It'd be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't listen to CDs. Most people don't. But if you're coming to a show, it's real easy to hand a CD to somebody and here's your music. So I think we're going to continue to do it.
And I mean, just having that physical. I mean, this might be a bad analogy, but. Let's say your soccer team wins a tournament. They give you a trophy, right? You can put that on a shelf and you still have that, you know, like this, not that a CD is a trophy, but I mean, if they just said, hey, you won, good job. Well, the next day you got nothing to show for it. Same with, you know, if we just release digital music, there's nothing to show for it. This is kind of like our own little trophy kind of, you know, I don't know. Like I keep a copy of everything I've ever recorded. It's just, I don't know, but I'm kind of a memento, whatever word I'm trying to say for things you keep.
Pimento.
Yeah. That's it.
Sargento.
And it's not as cool to be like, here, buy our USB stick.
Right.
You know, we haven't transitioned into that technology yet.
Yeah.
You said you went through a lot of different band names. 5 O'Clock Shadow.
Yeah, so the 5 O'Clock Shadow thing, that was actually recorded before we left, I think. Yeah, that was, okay, so prior to moving out to Portland, we recorded that kind of a little EP. I think there's only, I don't know, 6 songs on it or something like that. And you can hear at that point where, you know, the music, there's a bunch of different styles on it, but it's much more experimental, and it was very heavily influenced by definitely the People Watching guys for sure, but just other stuff, just trying to be more creative, you know, with the music. So we recorded that prior to moving out to Portland.
One of our friends did the artwork for that.
Oh yeah,
Josh did the artwork for this,
Josh Fuller.
Yeah, we actually
Josh Fuller, if you're out there, love you.
He sent us a picture of this because he
did
drew
it on
something
napkin.
no, it was at something I work on, like a pallet on the side of a pallet or something like that. You know what I mean? He took a picture of it, and we're like, dude, we need that. Like, you're gonna have to go back and get that because we need it, and we're gonna use it. So it's just like kind of perfect.
Okay.
How did you get hooked up with Mike Zirkle? Mike Zirkle mixed the album, except for one song that Chris mixed.
Well, it involved a large briefcase full of cash.
Monopoly money.
No, Mike is in the very best sense of the phrase a fixture in the Madison music scene and beyond. And you know, when we were putting the album together, you know, we checked out all the studios in town and we picked Paradigm because of it at that moment it was a perfect blend for us of the environment and Jake, and there's a lot of great studios, you know, in town, and we checked them all out. And then when it came time to mix, you know, it was kind of that same thing, except, you know, we knew for sure it was going to be Mike because, I mean, it was very, very short list. There was only one name on it. And we met with Mike and you know, we assumed that he was the ideal person for that project in that moment. And then we met with him, and then we felt even more that. And now, having gone through that with Mike, I mean, I honestly, I can't imagine working with anybody else on that record.
Bob had mentioned on demand earlier. So when we record our live shows, we then upload them if we remember, because I forget to do it all the time. But we upload them to the Code Zero Radio app. So the easiest way is go to your app store on your iPhone or your Android phone and just search Code Zero Radio, and it'll come up, and download that bad boy. But there are so many different features on the app, and we've adjusted it. So Bob, if you want to explain what was added to the front screen, that I think it was you can go right to the website, I believe, correct? On the front screen of the app.
Yeah. Where is that, Andy? It's one of the tiles on the home screen.
Right.
Yeah. So here, and hold this up here again so people can see.
Can you?
Yeah. There's right on the top tile there on the right is feedback. You can send us, you know, information there. But in the middle it says requests.
That's very cool.
You can just click that. See if I can do it with one hand here. Request, and then it's going to pull up an advertisement. Just close that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something you want to buy, maybe not. But then here it pulls up the library. You can just search the artist you want to see.
Yep.
A couple clicks, and it puts it in rotation on the station. So if you're listening, you typically hear it if there's not a show within 5 minutes. Pretty handy.
Pretty handy. Then as you go across the top of
Andy.
the top of the tabs, if you will, playlist is cool. So if you're listening to one of the shows live, or just listening to the station and you want to know what band that was, you can simply click on playlist. It'll tell you which band is playing. And then there's a little thumbs up, thumbs down. I believe if you click thumbs up, it saves it to a list of your favorite songs.
Right.
So you can always go back and find your favorite songs if you want to request those songs. So that's very handy. Again, the on-demand tab, very, very cool. Uploaded shows. You can listen to those at your leisure anytime. They're always there. So if you don't have time to listen to the live show, you can always go back and listen to the on-demand. And that's very, very cool. Activity is just kind of our socials, I believe, what we've talked about, what's been on social media. Videos, Andy mentioned Core earlier. All of the Core videos are saved on the YouTube page, which is foxcitiescore.com. So, or Fox Cities Core on YouTube, excuse me. So if you go to Fox Cities Core, a lot of the videos that you see here on the video tab are there as well, but you can watch them right here on your phone if you're riding around town. Yeah. Favorites is what I mentioned earlier. When you click that thumbs button, your songs show up in favorites, so you can go back and review your songs. So that's very, very cool. And then shows is kind of our schedule of the shows that are coming up. So
very, very feature-rich app, and something I think that's something that people are looking for when they have an app.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to realize that the app was just as important, if not more important, than the website. And finally that little light bulb went off in my head about a year ago, saying, people live on their phones.
Yep.
They don't live on their desktops. So we got busy with the app, and it's turning out really nice.